Hey everyone, it's Peter Kerr from Daydream Nation, and today I've got my friend from New Zealand, Steve Deluxe from Rock and Metal Invasion. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, nice to be back on your show. Yeah, looking forward to this.
No worries. I thought we would do a special show where we would just exchange our swag of vinyl purchases. So I was in New Zealand last week and spent some time in Hawke's Bay and went to a few record stores. And Steve has dropped a nice little video where he went into Wellington and went to some of the vinyl stores in Wellington and picked up some purchases. So, mate, why don't you take it away and show us your swag, some vinyl.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, if you've been to my channel, you would have seen I did a quick little video yesterday of my trip into Wellington. Went to three shops. The first place I went to was a place called. No, sorry, the second place I went to. So the first place I went to, JB Hi-Fi. I didn't actually buy anything, but the second place I went to, RPM, it's known as Rough Peel Music. I got a couple of records and. These were in the sort of bargain bin, and so that I didn't pay a lot of money for it. These were $5, so it's $5 New Zealand, so super cheap. They had a lot. If you saw my video yesterday when I was sort of flicking through that, a lot of things, the most, I guess most people, certainly people who are interested in rock and metal, wouldn't be interested in. But there were just like a couple of records in there that definitely took my interest. And the first one I found in there, a band you might know about, Peter, because they're from Australia, Kings of the Sun.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
This is their second album, Full Frontal Attack. Now, surprisingly enough, I don't have this album, and I knew about the band, and I've seen a couple of music videos and. Oh yeah, I really have to try and track them down at some time, but never been able to find anything from them, which is a little bit surprising. It's not super rare or anything, but I just never come across it. Yeah, and so I gave it a bit of a spin today. It's real good Aussie rock sort of thing. I don't know if you've heard it, Peter, but a little bit AC/DC.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not hair metal. It's kind of like real classic sort of hard rock. It's the kind of album you could release it now. It's kind of timeless. You could just imagine it coming out now. It would still sound really good. Yeah, so great. I was really happy to find that.
Yep.
I guess it's still kind of new to me. I've only played it once, but quite like what I heard so far. So
Yeah, I saw them in the day. So I've seen Kings of the Sun. They were infamous. They supported Guns N' Roses on Guns N' Roses' first tour, and Axl Rose pulled the plug on them because the lead singer of Kings of the Sun apparently dissed Axl, and Axl pulled the electricity halfway through their set, and they got booted off the tour. So that got a bit of sort of notoriety for the band. The lead singer had a bit of a David Lee Roth presence about him, very much a showman, looked vaguely like David Lee Roth, very showy, but I saw them and they were quite a flashy meat and potatoes type of little bit of AC/DC, but with a little bit of hair metal flash, quite a competent hard rock band.
yeah.
Good pickup.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely happy to get that one. So hopefully I'll find them. They've got an album before that. So hopefully
Yes.
I'll find that point. And there's even another album that I'm looking at Discogs today. They've got a few albums out. In fact, they've still been putting out albums recently, but I think they've got a new vocalist. I think quite a few.
Yeah.
You know how things change over that much time.
Absolutely. Could have been they're in the classification of could have been a contender, but just
Yeah,
didn't quite make it.
absolutely. So the next one I found in that bin is a band called Zoetrope. I think that's how you say it. So this is I think it's actually their first album, and Amnesty is the name of the album. Pretty good to find this for such a cheap price, although I have to say it's a little bit banged up.
Yep.
It's the cover's not in the best condition. The vinyl needs a good clean. It's not too bad though. It's got a few little scratches on it. I think I haven't actually played it yet. I think it'll play okay. So yeah, really happy to find this. Their second album, I think, which is called Life in Crime. I don't have it anymore, but I have had that and enjoyed that when I played it. So yeah, it's kind of like sort of, speed metal, thrash metal. They actually classify themselves on the back here. They've said for speed and death metal addicts, this is hardcore street metal.
Street metal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, and they actually formed in 1976. So and this came out in, I think, 85 on Roadrunner. So
Right.
been around for a while. They, looking on Discogs, they did release a single in 1980, 81. Yeah, but that, I haven't heard that, but it probably not so thrash, more hard rock. But they definitely got more sort of thrashy and speed metal by the time this came out. There's their Inner Slave there. Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's a good pickup to get a Roadrunner in the wild for a good bargain. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was only priced the way it was priced, just because it is pretty banged up and not the best.
Pretty banged up, and the short store owner probably didn't know the true worth of it.
Yeah, no, well, that's possibly it as well. So yeah, happy to get that. So yeah, so that's my two records from RPM.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, good start. Well, I went to, as I said, I was in Hawke's Bay and went to Just for the Record. Now, Just for the Record have been around for a while, and he's no longer in a store. So times are pretty tough in Hawke's Bay. Post-COVID, there's a lot of stores that have closed. A lot of businesses are doing tough. So the guy has actually relocated his business to his front garage in his home. So you go to his home. It's in just a normal sort of like housing estate, and he's got all the hundreds and hundreds of records in his garage, and he's operating a business. Look it up. He does mail order. Fantastic selection of really rare New Zealand acts, psychedelic, garage. I mean, when it comes to New Zealand music, he is the man. But I got a few record store day purchases that I missed the first time around. And one of them was this one, Alice Cooper, live at the Apollo Theatre, Glasgow, 1982. And this is when he was in his blackout years. And I missed this on record store day, and I was able to secure a copy of it. But it's got all the hits like Under My Wheels, Cold Air Full, I'm 18, but he also does a lot of those blackout albums, which he disses and, he's not a big fan of. But it's a pretty rare document, and I haven't played this yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how this holds up. So that's Alice Cooper live at the Apollo Theatre, Glasgow, 1982. So quite pleased about that one.
What's your feelings on the early 80s Alice Cooper albums?
I like the blackout era. It's different. It's new wave. He was definitely experimenting with a lot of electronic. He was going away from that hard rock sound, but I quite like it. I think it's quite unusual, and it's different. It's still certainly got that Alice Cooper weirdness, but I find it fascinating that he can't remember one iota from recording any of the material, but it's come out quite well. My next one is Stevie Nicks. So Belladonna. So this is a double LP version. I like a little bit of Stevie Nicks, and this has got Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Edge of 17, Leather and Lace. It's also got one sort of record that's just all demos, different versions and outtakes. I've got a secondhand version of this, but I'm quite looking forward to giving this a bit of a spin. Again, this had a bit of a limited release for Record Store Day. I wasn't able to secure a copy in Australia, and lo and behold, this guy's got it, and I picked it up straight away. So I'm really looking forward to giving this one a bit of a spin.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, I mean, I love that album. It's one of the few sort of, that what I guess you'd call like a pop rock album that I just
Bit of edge.
And the album after that as well. In fact, all the Stevie Nicks in the 80s is pretty good, but her first two in particular, just really good. Yeah.
And I love that Edge of 17. I think that's an outstanding classic song, and I think that's probably one of her best albums. Whitesnake, greatest hits. I saw that was in your video. You were thumbing it. Revisited, remixed, remastered. So this is where David Coverdale has basically, again, gone back to the well of a lot of those albums from 1984 where he holds the rights to, because he doesn't hold any of the rights to those albums prior to that. And he puts his take on it. So he's added some keyboards, he's beefed up the guitars, he's mastered it, he's remixed it. All the gated drum sound is gone. So when you're hearing Still of the Night, it's how you would hear it live, and it's organic. And I tell you, I've played one record of the two, and it sounds fantastic. It sounds organic, and it doesn't have any of that 80s production values that kind of dates a lot of the hard rock and heavy metal from that era. There's different guitar solos. Adrian Vandenberg is now on some of the Slip of the Tongue material, because I don't know if you remember, but on Slip of the Tongue, he broke his arm, and Steve Vai had to do everything. So now he's back and he's added some tracks, which is a bonus. Some of the guitar is just quite different. Like Love Ain't No Stranger, he was able to dig out a different John Sykes solo, and even the rhythm section, it sounds like the notes are drawn out a little bit more. So as a connoisseur of Whitesnake, and I just love everything David Coverdale and Whitesnake, it's a dream for me, because you're hearing it with fresh ears. And I know there's a lot of criticism. Oh, here we go, he's going to the well yet again. But it's different. It is like listening to a new album. And as I said, I've only listened to side 1 and 2, and I'm looking forward to 3 and 4. But if you're going to go to the mine again and retool it and redo it, well, he's done it, and I really like it. It's well packaged. It's got, lots of linear notes, so it's like question and answers with DC. Just shows all the previous albums. So no, I was pleased to get that, and that was just a normal purchase, and that was from Just for the Record.
Yeah, well, it's making me think it might be worth getting, because part of my thinking is, I've already got all those songs already, do you know what I mean? But if you're sort of saying it's got a few different solos and it's going to sound a little bit different, it might be worth checking out.
It's different, and it just sounds modern, and as I said, removing all that sort of 80s production and making it live sounding and more organic. It's definitely a different listening experience. All right, mate, what do you got?
Okay, so the next place I went to, well, actually where I got some CDs. So I've already showed those in my video yesterday, but the final place I went to is a place called David White Gallery, and it's not specifically a music store, so it's like antique / op shop / whatever happens to come into his shop, and he decides to sell. So there's stuff everywhere. It's not that organized, but like I said in my video yesterday that I posted yesterday, that's kind of part of the charm. But you're just wandering around, it's like, oh, here's some CDs just randomly in a corner, or here's some records that he's not, just happened to have stashed away somewhere. And he has tried to kind of, put them in some sort of genre, but they're not necessarily always that successfully. So there's things all over the place. And but like I said, that I don't mind that too much. So it's quite fun. You're having a dig through there. And, he's a little bit negotiable too on the prices. Some things have price tags on them, some don't. You just kind of talk about that with him when you go up with your records. But he's pretty switched on too. You're not going to necessarily pull a Swiftie on him. He kind of has a good, reasonable idea about prices of things. So I didn't find a lot, but I picked up a couple of things. I picked up this is Crocus, and this is a 12-inch single. So I'm getting into 12-inch singles a little bit, mainly because I've got so much now of the stuff that I really wanted that I'm now kind of okay, were there any B-sides, singles that went with the album that might be worth collecting as well. So I guess my interest in this one was, so this is the single for Wild Love, which is a great song. It's from the album Heart Attack, which is possibly my favorite Crocus album. And then on side 2, it's got Winning Man, which was on the album, but it's also got a song called Bourbon Street. So this is a exclusive track. It's not on any other Crocus album. I hadn't heard that song before. I played it today and thought, oh yeah, I can sort of see why I didn't make the album. It's pretty, it's okay. It's okay song, but still though, cool to have in the collection. Like I say, B-side, it's the only way you can have that track. So, it was, I paid $10 for it, so not a lot of money. So
could you put that photo up again? Because I just noticed that second guy, he's got the most interesting facial. It's like, it's so out of kilter with the rest of the band. They're kind of very serious, and he's like, oh no, there's a flying record.
Yeah. You're right. And it's still got the old price tag on it. So it was $6.99, but I paid $10 for its inflation for you.
I love the old Crocus. They were. I used to listen to them a lot when I was a teen, and Headhunter was pretty big around my parts. And that there was a lot of talk that the lead singer Mark Storas, I think, he was going to be mooted as the Bon Scott replacement. And there's a few shows on YouTube where he actually does sing Bon Scott era. Rock, like High Voltage, and oh wow, shiver up your spine. You think he would have been perfect. Maybe culturally he wasn't the right fit, because I think if you're going to be in AC/DC, you've got to fit into that social cultural sort of dynamic. But vocally, oh wow, he would have fitted like a glove. He had a great tonality to his vocals, and they were pretty. They were meat and potatoes, but they were pretty solid. And for a while, they generated a bit of heat around the Headhunter era.
Like I said, Heart Attack probably my favorite. But when you say Headhunter, and it's like that is a great album too. So, and that's probably, I think most people regard that as their best album. But they've got some other. They got after Headhunter, they got it quite commercial. The next couple of albums were certainly going for that sort of, more hair metal, more commercial type of sound. A lot less AC/DC. So, it was a good find anyway. And
that's a good one. Good one.
Yeah, the last thing I found there, this is a new wave of British heavy metal band. And now I'm not sure how you say it, but I think it's Fastlane or Fastlane.
Mm-hmm.
So Fastlane. I think it's PasslaYne, and there's nothing much about it if you look at it that tells you it's going to be heavy metal, really. Probably not the greatest name for a band. The album's called Cut It Up, but what I did notice is that it's on Neat Records, which is
Homer Raven.
Yeah, exactly.
When I think Neat, I think of Raven.
Yeah, exactly. New wave of British heavy metal label, basically.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know too much about this band, or it's pretty much a blind buy, apart from the fact that I knowing it's on Neat Records. It came out in '84, I think.
Right.
I'm
looking forward to hearing your critique of it. And I can tell you that the album cover looks more krautrock than, something out of Germany or krautrock than new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah, they didn't do themselves any favors, I don't think.
Yeah, no band photos.
No group photos.
I'll edit and put a photo up for everyone to have a look.
Right.
Well, I'll get it off and I'll put it on this clip so they can see what they look like. Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what's fun too, eh? Like you get home, I've been playing it and doing a little Google on them, and there's pictures of them, and they've all got the long hair. They look like 80s, metalers and stuff. But you just wouldn't really necessarily know that from looking. And as you probably know, Peter, sometimes back in the 80s, you didn't necessarily know a lot about bands unless you could just sort of look at the band and sort of.
Absolutely. And sometimes you've got to do blind purchases. And there was so many blind purchases that I did in the day. And some of them were great and some of them were absolute duds. So that's all part of the fun.
Oh, no.
It's
so,
a lot of fun. It's
good. And I've played it and really enjoying it actually. It's kind of like this might sound a weird combination, but it's sort of a bit like Motorhead meets Van Halen kind of thing, So, Production's not the best. It's kind of quite fast, The drumming's pretty fast, sort of a beat, but then there's a bit of like doodling there with the guitar, and
it's got that filthy Animal Taylor shuffle.
And that's for a new wave of British heavy metal kind of thing too, isn't it? So, and when I was Googling about these guys, the vocalist and guitarist Michael Morn, I think is how you say it. He originally wasn't going to be the vocalist. Just before they went into the studio, the vocalist left the band, so he was just supposed to be the guitarist. But there's you're just going to have to do the vocals as well. So so
it's good. No, I'm impressed. I'll definitely check that one out on YouTube and see how we go. All right. Well, just a couple more from the record at Hawke's Bay. So I got a couple of albums from the Flying Nun, Finest the Clean. So that's Mr. Pop. So the Clean are sort of like punk legends. They formed in Dunedin in 1978, and they're the sort of stalwarts of the Flying Nun label. So I'm looking forward to giving this, because anything on the Flying Nun label is still very popular. If you see anything in the wild secondhand, they're worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars because they were on limited pressings. So stuff like the Chills, the Verlaines, the Bats, if you get first pressings, they go for some serious cash in New Zealand and internationally. But these bands were quite influential, so there you go, Unknown Country. And the reason why I got this is you can't get this in Australia. These are special New Zealand pressings and they're on coloured vinyl. But this band's amazing. They're punk, bit of folk, bit of indie. But the Dunedin scene, it was like, because it's such an isolated part of New Zealand, it's like they created their own musical genre. They were okay, of course they were listening to the Pistols and the Cure and what was happening in the UK, but they created their own sound. And basically you had this scene where all these bands, they come out of university and really it was the sounds of the environment, what was around them, what was happening socially, and they created this whole scene. And I think it's quite wonderful and unique and something that you don't hear in a lot of music. But I'm really looking forward to listening to those two albums. And they're doing a big reissue. And I think they've actually done some postage stamps in New Zealand of Flying Nun bands. And and I know Jacinta Ardern, New Zealand Prime Minister, is a bit of a fan of the Flying Nun. She handed our Prime Minister, they did a record exchange as gifts. So our Prime Minister gave Midnight Oil and Jacinta Ardern gave a few Flying Nun albums. So I don't know about her politics, but she's pretty switched on the old music. So
she's done some DJing. So she's into a bit of music, yeah.
Now I go to another record store in Hawke's Bay called Electric City, and it's been there for 30 years. And I feared that this store would be dead, gone, but it was still operating. It moved to the other side of the street, the vinyl section, and I picked up a lot of nuggets. So this one is a band called The Fix. They're a new wave band. They were sort of semi-big in America, didn't probably do much business in Australia and New Zealand, but I like them. And yeah, I got that album fairly cheaply. Then I also got a soundtrack, The Wild Bunch. So I'm going a little bit different. It's one of my favorite Westerns of all time. This is a near mint condition, first pressing, and great soundtrack. One of my favorite Westerns, the Peck and Path movie. So I'm quite looking forward to giving that a bit of a spin. This one, King of Comedy. So this is the Robert De Niro, Jerry Lewis movie, and this has got Pretenders, B.B. King, Talking Heads, Robbie Robertson, Ray Charles, Van Morrison. Great soundtrack. This one, Jim Carroll Band. So this, I don't know if you've heard of him. He was a punk poet. He wrote The Basketball Diaries, which was a big hit movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
I've heard of that soundtrack. Yeah.
You don't see many of these sort of records in the wild, so very lucky to see this. I Write Your Name. I've got his greatest hits, but I haven't got any of his other sort of solo albums, and very lucky that I was able to get this at this record store, so I'll give this a play. I'm just looking at I Write Your Name, Black Romance, Freddie's Store, Hold Back the Dream. He's definitely a bit of a cult artist, but definitely worth looking into. And finally, I picked up Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart. So I got the 12-inch. I've always loved this song. Yeah. And this is like a reissue on the factory records. And that's looking forward to doing that. I'm doing a show on Joy Division, my favourite 5 tracks of Joy Division, and that was very timely. I was able to pick that up. So There you go. So there is a vinyl scene.
Yeah, that's cool. I know you said to me before, I think before you even went over, that you were looking for maybe to get some Flying Nun. So there we go, successful, eh? Absolutely.
But to get a first edition Flying Nun, that's a different proposition, very hard to get. And I think the store owner said as soon as he gets something that's of reasonable quality, it only lasts a day.
Right, yeah.
It's very much. Oh, well, that's great, Steve. So, guys, tell me what you think of our picks. Maybe you want to share with us in the comments of some picks that you've picked up on the weekend and your vinyl digs. I'm always happy to see viewers' comments and what they've picked up over the last couple of weeks. And please subscribe to Rock Daydream Nation. And is there anything happening in your show? Any new clips in the future, Steve? Rock and Metal Invasion?
Sometimes I've got some plans. Sometimes it's all just sort of last minute kind of stuff. So my most recent video, which is just about my Rock and Metal Invasion goes shopping. That's just was inspired by knowing that we were going to do this video, and I thought, I haven't done a trip into town to do some shopping for a while, so I'll just see if I can do a little bit of videoing, and because I think it's probably kind of interesting, for people in other countries to see what shops in little old New Zealand looks like. So just a couple of shops. There's still other music shops around the area. I've got to sort of travel a little bit further, but there are still, a couple more that I haven't, been to or done videos for. There's not that many, but I've probably got a couple more I could do at some point. So maybe that will come up sometime in the future.
I'd really look forward to seeing that, and I think your viewers, and I've seen already some really positive comments to your clip, and I think people really enjoy just seeing just different stores and how they go. That's great. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone, and thank you, Steve, and catch up soon.